Good morning and welcome to Career Launch Live. This is a particularly happy Friday because I have somebody here that always makes me smile. Please welcome Alexandre to be to the stage with us today. We're going to be talking about appearance in the workplace. What should we expect? What shouldn't we expect? Notice I dress particularly casual for this episode because this is just how I rock and roll these days. I live in Florida. Why the heck not? I'm excited about it. Alexandre, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, hello everyone. I'm Alex. I'm 25 now, actually. I've been working in cybersecurity in the past. I'm also a para athlete, an activist, and right now I've been volunteering for the last 5 months close to Barcelona with adults with physical and mental disabilities and just learning the language and just learning about people, really.
And being amazing. I think that's the short version of that. Just 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 being amazing. And it was really cool. So you and I met. It both of us were having a very cool experience in our lives when we met. We got to speak to some politicians and you and delegates and stuff together, and it was the first time either of us had done that exact thing. And it was really cool. It was a really cool experience, and we really connected. And one of the things that I thought was so very interesting about that experience was everybody's dress, right? Because there were different cultures represented, there were different and it was almost like the best fashion show ever because it was just all these people coming
Literally,
across like
I
from
remember that.
different countries. Um, so first of all, I want to ask you because I remember like you and I both was like suited and booted, like we had the full look going. Um, and that was obviously a very formal situation. Do you feel like the cultural dress added to the event, or that people should have all been more formal like we were?
No, I think it added to it. I mean, I remember two people in the front seat with whom I'm still in touch, actually, that had like the traditional indigenous clothing, and I thought, oh wow, that's like amazing because they come here to represent. We're talking about diversity, and I think when you talk about a topic, you should also fully embrace it. So it would be strange to have like all people dressed the same, talking about how different we are. You should embrace being different when we're all one and the same. And when you talk
Yeah,
about diversity in companies, it's exactly the same thing. You
yeah.
can't have a board of all the same people, the same age, the same clothes that talk about having a
Right,
different.
exactly. Yeah, just why? I felt the same way looking out at that room. When you were at the front and we were presenting, and looking out at that room of everybody, and I mean bright, beautiful colors, amazing hats. Like, I mean, their hat game was on point. I was pretty impressed. It was so cool, and it did add a sense um of interest and diversity, and you could kind of get a better feel for the person, like who is this, what's their background, what's going on with them. And so I felt like it was a much more beautiful representation of each human. And a while back I had the privilege of attending a wedding that was the most unusual. They actually had a musical written for their wedding. The whole wedding was a
Oh
musical that had been
wow!
written, yeah, just for them. It was extraordinary. Yeah, best thing ever. I was like, oh, this is the win of all weddings. Chad and Chris, shout out to you for the best wedding ever. And and part of what they did was they told everybody come in an outfit that best represents you as a human. And so everybody came and like there were crazy, outlandish, cool drag queen outfits all the way over to like t-shirt jeans, but like a t-shirt that was like their favorite show or something like that. And it was amazing. It was amazing. It was so cool.
Where do I
Um,
get an invite?
right, yeah, right. Like I was like, this is the best. There are CDs of the wedding, and I'm like, this is the best, coolest, or DVDs, I should say, most impressive wedding I've ever seen. It was so cool, and again, it really brought something to it because everybody came as their authentic selves. So tying that into the workplace, we keep asking people to come as their authentic selves, but we're still enforcing this weird like dress code notion. right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that a little bit. So when you're going into, because you've worked in professional organizations, you know just as well as I
Yep.
do,
Hmm.
what do you feel happens when there's that uniformity? What kind of happens to the culture and and people's psychological safety?
I think that even just looking at when you hire, right, and you say it's a dynamic workforce, it's a challenging environment, it's all of those things that we see on all those applications, and then you arrive in an office that's completely white and just people that have exactly the same clothes, and you just have like this desk. Everyone has their own desk, but I mean it's just like it doesn't stimulate creativity. It doesn't help to find new ways of working, of being stimulated, because it's
Mhm.
all white. And to be honest, an example for my life, I hate hospitals, because with my disability I've been to a lot of hospitals, and
Yeah,
once I'm there, like, no matter what I'm there for, even if it's for a positive thing, I don't feel well. And when
right.
I'm in an office and you have those bright lights and those white walls, I just feel like I'm in the hospital. You
That's
know, and
interesting. Yeah, because like that's not something they probably thought of, but I can see
no,
that happen because I have the same association for very different reasons. I have the same association, and so I'm like, eh, I don't want to.
yeah,
I don't want to be here. Like this is very stressful. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
And then on top of that, you don't feel well because
Right.
of the office, and then you wear clothes where you feel like this is not who I am. So you can't identify with the place you're in, and you can't identify with the clothes you're in. So
Yep.
actually, you're kind of playing a game of like, this is who I'm supposed to be.
The
But
facade.
yeah, but can you then really do a proper job? And especially in a commercial organization where it's people talking to people, and they
Yeah.
often say people buy off people. But do I
That's
really
so
want to?
true.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. And I have preached this to so many organizations. I was like, if you want people to do their best work, they have to be comfortable. They have to be able to have experience complete psychological safety, like you said, not having to put on the facade, not having to try to project what they think you want of them. There needs to be comfort and ability to just be themselves. I'm not saying you need people rolling in there naked or something. Like we got we gotta have like a bare minimum, okay? But
There's a
like you
limit.
like maybe don't come in with chili stains on your shirt, stuff like that. Like we can
Exactly.
don't be slobs. But but so I'm not saying that, but being yourself, right? It starts with how you present. And so if you really want people to express themselves, be creative, do their best work, they need to be comfortable. And that does start with what we're wearing and who we are. Um, and even down to I get asked a lot about tattoos these days, as we're slowly yeah. Now most of mine are completely covered when I am dressed. That just happens to be where I have them, is around my torso. However, I just got my first tip very visible tattoo. I can't easily show it on the show because it's on my foot. But
Okay.
even when I wear like heels and stuff, you can see it. It's right there on my foot. And I'm like, well, it's just who they are, so who cares? Like it doesn't affect their work, it doesn't affect anything else, and it tells you a little bit more about them. I love tattoos because it tells me something about you. What are you into? Maybe you like different kinds of colorful art. Maybe you have maybe you were in the military, and maybe whatever it is that you're into. And I like to ask about the art. Tell me the story. Why do you have that?
Yeah.
Let me get to know you. So, what are your thoughts about tattoos in the
I
workplace?
honestly, coming from Belgium, a really little country, we're still really into like the formal way of, you still wear a shirt and sometimes a suit. It's loosening up, but that's still what was ingrained in my mind when I started working in London. And then I realized that in London, they're quite forward thinking. They're quite,
Hmm.
depending on the company you're in, but they're more laid back. And I saw a lot of my colleagues that were senior, that were doing the big accounts, and that they were wearing t-shirt, and you could definitely see their tattoos. And I immediately felt like I belonged more. They didn't have a D&I policy yet, so that
Right.
wasn't perfect. But at least they had people that could just be themselves, and you didn't have to hide it. And for me personally, seeing people with tattoos, even with earrings, as you can see,
Mhm.
like those kind of things, this is how who we are now. And I think if a lot of companies ask me like, how do we hire people like you that are trying to find solutions, thinking out of the box, and I'm like, if I don't think like everyone else, I most probably don't look like everyone else.
You know what? That's a really good point to make. And that's another one I've explained to people over there. Like, if you want somebody who's creative and can do all this cool stuff, they're probably going to be a little bit different, a little bit weird. They're going to dress different. They're going to act different. They're going to have different mannerisms, this type of thing. So you have to open up your thinking and focus on what it is that you're looking for. And so the opposite of what's been going on for decades, what I teach people is when you're hiring, look and you're looking at somebody's appearance. And I always tell people, come to an interview dressed as you want. Just be you. You do you. I want to see you as you are. And when you see somebody that walks in that their outfit matches what you have in your head, that's a good indicator. That's a good indicator that okay, and it doesn't have to, right? But if you just see like somebody, I once had I was interviewing for a creative designer, and this woman came in a Looney Tunes, like an artistic looking Looney Tunes sweatshirt, which she later described had been specially made for her by artists from
Oh, wow.
the studio. Yeah, it was really cool. And then she had like these colorful, bright pants on, and like all in these cute little high heels that had this little funky design. And I was like, oh, for creative director, yes to this situation.
This suits the description.
Yeah, that's it. That's pretty creative. And just people who people need to be able to express themselves, and they need to be comfortable, and
Yeah.
that's it. And so we need to kind of back off and relax. And I can tell you, because I have several clients that work this way, I work this way, the come as you are thing works. It works. I
It
do some.
does. It to
Yep.
makes me think of an anecdote actually. So I would wear like a flashy blue suit to work, and even on the tube, like people stopped and they were like, I wouldn't wear that. Like they would just come up to me and say, honestly, you're quite confident to wear it, but to be honest, it suits you really well. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
thank you. That's basically why I'm wearing it. But and then one time I went to the meeting and they were all sitting there, and then I had like shoes with like some fluff on. They were
Yeah.
fluffy shoes basically. And like my manager saw me come in, he was like starting the meeting, and he just stopped and he was like, what are those? And
Like, what is happening here? I have
then
questions.
me coming like with my green suits, like I would do that all the time. And everyone was like, oh, but is it like real? Can we touch it? And everyone started like touching my feet like right before the meeting. And I thought
Okay,
it
people, don't go around touching other
was
humans in the workplace, but
like my manager was
that's
at
so
my
cute.
feet basically, and I was like,
I
"In what
love it.
world does that happen? It's amazing!" And everyone was like, "Oh wow, they're so cool." I was like, "Yeah, I know, but that's why."
Yeah,
And
yeah, thank you. I know.
so that's how you loosen it up. So I think at first, just like
Yeah.
with disability, at first people are uncomfortable because they
Hmm.
don't know. It's the
Yes.
unknown. They've always followed the path. They've always done it the way it should. But then they come along someone that is confidently themselves, and they're like, "I like this. I don't know
Yeah.
why I love this person, but I like them."
You know
And
why? Because confidence is attractive. I don't care if it's the dating world or the professional world. Confidence is attractive.
yeah, yeah.
Period.
And it's like those people are like, I don't know why or what I'm feeling, but I like it. And the more they see you just being yourself, they're like, oh wow, this energy, I can feel it. I want to do it
Hmm.
too. And I had one colleague, Eugenia, shout out, that used to work like in the fashion as well, like
Hmm.
before. And she would also wear like these kind of suits. She actually made me go to the event we met. and we were, the both of us, just always with our own clothes, and you could feel it have an impact on the people that we were working with, because they were like, oh, we can just loosen up a bit, and
Right.
and just like, just the
It's
business.
contagious.
Yeah,
It's contagious. It's like smiling. It's contagious. It's
yeah,
contagious. It's great. And I want to address this because Paul's bringing up a good point in the comments. And both
I
of us are
can't
in the
read
dis.
the talk at the
I
same
know. I'm going to tell you what it says. I got you. Don't worry. I got you. Paul, like us, is in the disability community, and you and I have very different disabilities. Um, and he's saying, so it shows that no matter how well you're dressed, if people are uncomfortable with your disability, they will avoid you. And I want to take some time to hit on that a little bit too, because appearance can be altered by your disability.
time.
For instance, my mother used to strut into work with her very cute pink walker every day, so it was very visible. It just getting like, hey, got my pink walker here, I go. She had a very floral, vibrant cane too for one day, so she could actually get away with using just her cane. Um, you yourself have a visit. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. So I didn't talk about it earlier. I have a cerebral palsy. So I was born at 6 months. I had a lack of oxygen, and it affects both my legs and a bit of my left arm and some other uh, things as well that now you can't see anymore. But it took a long time and a lot of work to work on. And I'm most of the time I'm in my wheelchair. And all of the organizations I worked in, I was the only one. And when I went to a commercial event in Belgium, the whole convention, I was the only one in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And it obviously it does have an impact. Like some of the people I worked with, because it was in COVID, told me, "Oh, we never knew you were in a wheelchair," because I didn't see the point to tell them. Like we were just colleagues, and my disability completely disappeared because they already knew me. And it's all,
Mm-hmm.
I always say the same thing, and in my speeches as well, is people are afraid of what they don't know, and once they know
Yes.
you, then yeah, then it's okay. And I think if I'm truly honest about it, I think sometimes I amplify like what I wear, or with time, like I, for example, at the speech I gave, I had red shoes on, so I had a shoe,
Yeah.
I had a full-on suit on, but my shoes were this
Yep.
color, and no one was wearing, like everyone was wearing the regular ones, and I was like, no, I'm wearing my red sneakers.
You just rocked it too. Just
And
rocked it.
even my friends were like, yeah, you look professional, but you still stay you.
Yeah.
And I
I
think
had a turtle necklace on. I
yep,
had a giant silver turtle necklace.
with me into your card, I will never forget your card ever.
Yep. Yep. My bottle opener business card. That's right. Yeah. You be you. Be you.
I love
And
it.
I yeah, we just immediately connected to each other. We did.
I'm
And
like,
what
this
was
is my kind
funny,
of person.
yeah, exactly. And it was so funny about that situation. Is that when people were talking about you, I had the opportunity, of course, we were all mingling and stuff like that. Nobody was like the guy in the wheelchair. Nobody said that because after you got up and spoke or and did your whole presentation, it was just talking about the different subjects that you brought up and the wisdom that you brought. Some of them brought up your cool outfit that got brought up several times. A couple of the ladies referred to you as the good looking guy. So
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
did not know
so
that.
but it's true. It disappears after they get to know you. But to Paul's point, when people very first see you, like when
Yeah,
you interview and things like that, when you walk into a room, it
for
can
sure.
be tough. It can be
Oh
tough.
no, it is. It is.
It is.
When I was
And
younger,
my
I experienced it too. Like I was applying for jobs, and I fitted the whole description. I could do everything because I could check every like every job, and I selected like these ones I'm sure I can do. And I think everyone with a
yep.
disability has been through that. We
Hmm.
filter ourselves out of jobs
Yeah.
before we even apply for jobs. So we're like, yeah, I could not do that. So we filter it down to a couple we're sure we can get. And I would go there
Hmm.
to that office, and the moment they saw me, I saw their
Like
face. Like it just
yeah.
like,
Hmm.
and they invented like things that I was supposed to be doing that I wasn't, like, going in the
Oh
back
yeah.
door and things like that. And I was a student, so they could invent whatever they wanted. But I experienced it, and I actually had to create my own student job. So I was a coach, and I invented an inclusive wheelchair tennis workshop that the
That's
parents
cool.
then asked if their kids could be part of that.
That's cool.
So yeah, I think if people close the door, you just have to open another one, and that's just
Yeah.
who I am.
But it
But
is frustrating. It is. And my
oh,
disability is not always visible. And that's one thing. My situation is unique in that sometimes it's visible, sometimes it's not. So there are days when I'm shaky. There are days when I'm twitching. There are
yeah.
days when it looks like I'm winking at everybody, and it's very weird. Like I'm walking around like like that. Yeah,
How you
it's a bit.
doing?
And I'm like, I tell people, I'm like, I promise I'm not trying to pick you up for a date. It's okay. Like this is just something that happened. And again, making them feel comfortable, right? I use a lot of humor. My friend Stacy, I was I was doing a show with her, and I started twitching, and she was like, "Oh, look at you! You're doing like the Thriller Michael Jackson dance. Look at you!" And I died. I died laughing. That was one of my favorite shows I ever got to do, and she was, talking about my dance moves. So shout out to Stacy
That's
for that one.
definitely what I was doing. That's what I
Yeah,
was
that's 100%. That was it. My body's like, it's just time for some Thriller here. Here we go. Um, but but I know what that's like because when people see that, I experience the same kind of thing, right? It's like, are you gonna start doing this in the middle of a meeting? Are you gonna fall at the floor and flop around like a fish? Which does happen. I don't fall because I always know it's coming, but I do have seizures. Um, and so I know from that standpoint, but it's like I've also been at a place of employment when I had to go through a lot of medical testing, and I've
saying.
been treated very differently. Oh, I was actually fired, by the way. That was super fun.
Oh no,
Um,
I thought
yeah,
I was gonna be, but apparently I was good enough at hiding it that they didn't realize until I said like I can't do this any longer. But yeah, no, I definitely you're getting judged for it.
yeah,
My colleague, she what was it? Oh yeah, one of her friends got pregnant, and then they found an excuse to fire her. So it's a different thing, but it
it's
still
true.
happens.
Yeah,
And going back to the disability thing, so it's only for me, but what I do is I talk about my disability really, really openly. And
yeah,
I always say I'm someone with a disability. Now there are different terms and everyone uses what
yes,
they, but the thing is when I do that, I am someone with a disability, but like I'm also a person. And when I talk about my disability, whatever people say about it doesn't affect me because
that's
it's
right. It's
not
not you. It's about the disability. Yeah,
me. It's part of me, but it's not me. And so when I say like, oh, I have a hard time reading or I'm really slow at reading, and I say it in the interview, I don't care. I tell them I can do my job as a commercial, but if you ask me to go through some data or financials, I'm dyspraxic, so that's not going to happen. Like I can
right.
prepare.
You're just like, nope, not gonna be a thing. No,
Yeah,
no.
I can prepare for it and I can make the quotes faster than anyone else, but I'm
Yep.
not going to be the one that can do it on the spot. And
Right.
so it's up to you as an organization to tell me on time that I need to do that. And otherwise, you need to have someone on the meeting that can cover for me.
Yeah.
And once you're really open about it and they're like, oh, wow, you're willing to challenge someone that can hire you
Hmm.
and like just put yourself out there and also
Yep.
be so aware of your qualities that your
Yeah.
shortcomings in the balance don't have any effect really.
It's
And
true. It's
I'm
true.
I
And that
know
works for age, by the way. That works for age. It works for
yeah
cultural differences. It works for language barriers. It works for all kinds of things. This works. This is a great tip to
you
just put it out there. Here's how I can work with you. Here's how you can work with me. I've already problem solved it for you. You don't need to worry about it.
yeah.
Here we go.
I
Let's
tell
do
them
it.
that all the time. I tell them I can't explain to you all of my disability, but I know if there is something, you ask me and we'll figure it out together. There is no
Yes.
problem. I'm willing to spend time with you. I'm willing to do it, but you have to ask me because if, for example, I had it once that we went on a workshop with work and nothing was adapted, and I told them that is not that's not okay, and I'm not going to accept that twice because I told you if you need something, you ask me, and I'm not going to sit
Yeah.
there and look at my
Yeah.
colleagues for fun while I'm here. Because if you want me and you know why you hired me, then you should, think about me when you plan things. And
Universal design.
yeah,
That's what that is.
yeah,
Universal design, folks. Do it for
yeah,
everybody because everybody needs it. And it can be cultural. And I've had a lot of people over the years that were weird about like Black women's hair
yeah,
and things like that. And I'm like, well, first of all, that doesn't affect you. Like, their hair too has nothing to do with you.
yeah,
They're fine over there. Leave them over there.
yeah.
Um, my rules, because I've had people ask about rules for that, and Paulette made a great comment earlier that I put up about, as long as your hygiene's on point, we're good. And that's exactly it. As long as you are clean and as long as you are like, obviously groomed, we're good. Like past that, who cares, right? Who cares? And I do want to ask you about, because this is another that's come up a lot in my career that I think is super funny, and I laugh. So discrimination based on looks, and when I say look, I mean like whether you're good looking or not. So sex appeal, basically. So
Yeah.
discrimination based on sex appeal. Now, in the U.S., being not good looking is not a protected class. So technically, while it makes you a jerk and you can maybe get sued for something specific that you did, it's not illegal to discriminate against somebody for not being good looking. But
Yeah.
it happens. It also happens that people get discriminated against for being too good looking.
Oh
I
wow.
have seen that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've flat out had people tell me, "Oh no, they're going to be a distraction. We can't hire them." Yeah.
What?
Yeah. They're going to be. I was like, "Are they distracting you?" Like what? Like what is happening?
I think you have some issues you need to work through because
Control yourself. Do I need a spray bottle for you? Like calm
talk to
down,
your wife. I mean, do something.
right? I've had that happen against men and women. I've had it's not just one.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so I've seen that, and I'm like, well, like I don't even. And like you said, I start working through. Okay, why are you concerned about this? What specifically have you seen? Sometimes I've had experiences where, especially, and I'm glad to just put this out there. Sales teams, okay, it is a problem. You put a hot woman on a sales team, and those guys act a dang fool, but they will also sell more. So that's kind of my counter argument to that. So I'm like,
And if
but
she's in sales, maybe she knows it and she's okay with it. It
yep,
depends.
yep.
I don't know. I don't want to say anything that
No, but it's true. I
thing.
had the funniest though. Let me tell you.
When you're a seller at core, your sole
Mhm.
goal is to sell. And I'm not saying like you will do anything, but like
Right,
if my attractiveness can help me achieve my goal of
right.
like
Then
of
okay.
hitting my quota, and I don't have to do as much effort as someone else. I mean, I'm gonna do that. I'm because everyone uses their skills, and if your appearance is one of those skills, then
Yep.
you better embrace it. I
Right,
know.
absolutely. The best salesperson I ever met in my life. So back in the day when Aflac was still a little bit newer to workplaces, right? It's like a supplemental insurance. Um, I was working at a financial organization, and we all knew when the Aflac woman would come in because none of the men were at their desk. You would just walk in the room, and none of them were there. They were all in the room buying Aflac. If they already had Aflac, they were upgrading their policy. All of them. It was hilarious. My husband's in the other room and he will tell the same story because he was one of them. And she was really good looking. Now, what's cool is she was also amazing at her job. And all the women bought from her too because she was freaking amazing at her job. Later, she became one of their top district managers and
Wow.
managed a whole several states level territory. She was
Yeah.
incredible at her job. She was good looking, but it was also that she was really freaking good at her job. And
It's
so
never
how
one thing. It's never one thing. That never
that
lasts. That never lasts. That can last like when you're a junior, 1 year. Yeah, okay. But if you can't, if you have someone that's good looking and that's been doing it for 10 years, that's not how they made it where they are.
that's
It,
right.
it's always a combination of different factors. It always is. And I think when people make those comments about hiring, that's something that, you could tell them, like, I don't think their appearance made them a director, made them a manager, or
Exactly.
made them successful for that long, because you can find someone beautiful, but if you work every day with them, like, okay,
You get used to
fine,
it's like, okay, whatever.
you're beautiful to see, but it doesn't really have an effect on me.
Nope,
So
nope. Need you to do your job. Thank you so much. And
exactly.
that's true. And people make those assumptions. I've seen it so many times throughout the years. I do think it's this particular issue, I think, is a little bit worse with for females. So the other stuff we've talked about, not so much. I think it's pretty equal. But a lot of the, oh, well, they got there because
Yeah, yeah.
they're hot, or they got there because they dated so and so. And I'm like, no, they got there because they're really good at their job. I had a COO one time, gorgeous. I mean, just gorgeous, but the most badass professional. I learned so much. She was such a great mentor to me. And like, when I think of her, I just think of this powerful, strong woman who knew what she wanted, who would bust me whenever I was pulling some stuff. I mean, and not too many people, by the way, have the guts to just call me out, and she did.
Those
She
are
would
the
just,
people I love the most.
oh yeah,
And going back to, sorry, but I'm
no,
backtracking
you're
a bit.
good.
But going
You're good.
back to what we were saying about disability, I think because my disability has put me in so many different challenging situations, let's say, and as you know, in my speeches, I use that to show how it brought me qualities that can be beneficial to companies. I think one of them is that I'm good at managing conflicts and
Mhm.
in stressful situations, and that also makes me quite willing to work with people that can be quite can make me actually quite scared in the beginning. Like as a young professional, that's one thing that I heard a lot from my peers was like, oh, I don't dare to talk to this VP or that VP or that person
And
because
you're like, yeah, whatever.
you're like, one of them was my VP was Melinda at VMware, and she was great. Like she would call me out, but like I would listen to her and I would challenge. I would try in my own way to challenge her, and she would value that massively. And I think my disability has a big part to play in that. So if you look at it, depending on how you look at it, it also brings you some things because once you're used to navigating this society, navigating all those challenges, you realize people are just people. And yeah, as you said, you can learn a lot from the people that are willing to speak their mind,
Mhm.
but also mindful of who they have in front of them, obviously. But
Oh,
those
well,
are
yeah. Be
no,
respectful. Always, always be respectful, no matter who you're speaking to. Be
no, because
respectful.
I've had some people that were really direct, but they kind of forgot who their audience is and what the point of the call is. So you need to have a balance. But yeah, I do think that those people can bring you so much. It's a bit scary at first, but then you're like, oh wow, yeah, I want to be like them. And to be honest, I've had it more with women than with men, where I was like, oh wow, she can stand up, because I know that she has had to go through more, most
Mhm.
likely more, just like me. And so I'm like, oh wow, and now you're so self-aware and secure in your abilities that you can challenge anyone. Yeah.
And that's exactly it. And I love that you brought up that, because of your disability, you have these other skills. And that's what I teach people all the time is we're humans, we're meant to balance ourselves out. So if there's a struggle in one area, we develop strengths to kind of compensate. So while a person may struggle with, whatever it is that they struggle with, and they will have a strength somewhere else. So there's always value in that human.
Yeah.
And help them come out of their shell, give them value, show them the respect that they deserve for the skills that they have, whether they're quiet, whether they're boisterous, doesn't matter. Show them that. And I
So
want to thank you so very
self
much for joining us.
self
We're at the end of the show. Go ahead.
self perception is key, and that's what I'll leave it at. But it's
Yeah.
how you perceive yourself, and that will shine through to others in whatever area of your life.
And remember, confidence is attractive, whether at work or in dating. Confidence is attractive. Alex is absolutely right. So in summary, basically, let people be themselves at work. They'll be comfortable, they'll be happier. And multiple studies show that people work more effectively when they are more comfortable. It also creates better psychological safety, lets you get to know them. And sometimes it's just fun because people wear crazy fuzzy shoes. Um, and don't judge a book by its cover. When people come in with a disability, don't assume what they can do or what they cannot do. They will surprise you. For instance, did you know that Alex is a jujitsu champion? And would you think a guy in a wheelchair was a jujitsu champion? No. So there you go. Don't judge.
I can put you to sleep anytime.
There you go. All right. All right, Alex. So tell people where they can find you.
All right, so you can follow me on LinkedIn. There is a big project coming, and I will also put on my LinkedIn my Instagram, so you can follow more of my stories there.
And it's always tons of fun to follow his social media. Trust me, do it. So thank you all so very much for joining us. Thank you, Alex, for being part of the show. It's been one of my favorite episodes I've ever gotten the pleasure of doing. Happy Friday, everybody. Have a great weekend. Same time, same place next week.